everybody, and welcome to another episode of Book Goodies, the author series of podcasts. I'm your host, Deborah Carney, and I'm joined today by Camilla Stein. How are you, Camilla?
I'm fine. Thanks for asking.
And for this podcast, I'm in New York City, and Camilla, where are you?
I am in Europe.
Yeah, so we're doing this very early in the morning her time, and even earlier in the morning our time, so...
Very international, yes.
International. So, Camilla, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners and tell them a little bit about your background?
Okay, well, I'm a writer. I'm an author of Space Scrapers and Gaia's Children. These are two science fiction ebooks that are currently on Amazon Kindle. Well, they are everywhere actually, but and there's also a paperback of Space Scrapers available. These two books are kind of very sweet stories about some things in the future, and we can talk about that if you're interested.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yes, well, so basically I write science fiction stories, and I plan on writing a science fiction novel, which is halfway done. And I also work with a publishing house, Glagoslav Publications, and I also do consulting for non-profits in development, all kinds of things like multimedia consulting, image consulting, and development, network development, outreach development, all kinds of things. Because I speak many languages, so actually I can help people get around the international network.
That's really cool.
And yes, manage volunteers in various countries and manage paperwork in various languages, but also I help non-profits get the message across, translations, things like that.
That's really exciting. You have a lot of irons in the fire, as they say.
Many hats to wear,
yes.
That is for sure. I am also a mother of two children with autism, and I write for Examiner about autism. Examiner is an American national, I think it's the largest network of city journalists like myself, and there's a lot of people writing about autism, and I'm one of them.
That's pretty cool. Not that you have children with autism, but I had children with physical disabilities when they were growing up, and I was a work-at-home mom, with them. So we actually have another podcast we can get you on to talk about that in more depth.
That would be wonderful, too. Yes.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Mm-hmm. So, okay, so you do all these things for all these people, and then you escape into your sci-fi world and start writing?
Possibly that's the reason. I actually love sci-fi so much. I started reading as a kid. I think I was 10 when I was first introduced to Asimov's. I don't remember quite what the stories were. And then there was Foundation series, and then there were other authors, and I just lost myself in everything. And then I thought sometime, well, maybe I should do that too, Mm-hmm. And so I wrote a book, and then I wrote another, and then I solicited a literary agent, and my agent said, "Okay, let's get you out there."
Nice.
And now I'm here talking to you. Science fiction is a means for me to deliver my thoughts, ideas. I don't think it's an escapism as much, but it's something that I think that the world actually can use right now, because we are in the place where we need to reflect on things we've done to ourselves and to our world. And we need to reflect on how we can change ourselves and change what we're doing to the world, so we can actually survive and still have the Earth 1,000 years in the future,
Yeah.
So I think science fiction is a great medium for that, and that's why I write it. All my stories are a bit to the subject of preservation and humanity preservation as a global family, and the natural world preservation, because I think we need to really slow down and look around and be more in touch with nature, be more in touch with the world, be more organic, I'd say, in a way in a way we live, in a way we behave, not necessarily buying organic food, but I mean
just being better,
just be more grounded and be less frivolous with the resources that we have. Yes.
I have a now you said that you've read Isaac Asimov and many other authors. Now,
yes.
did you learn English at the same? What's your main language?
I am bilingual. I speak Russian and I speak English.
Okay, so when you read the books, were they in English, or did you read some in English and some in Russian?
Yes, ma'am. English, and I also did some Russian reading too by Russian authors, actually. So Russian science fiction. That's a different kind of science fiction.
Yeah, that would be an interesting, because everyone that I've interviewed so far has been English-based, and it didn't occur to me, until you just said that, you're over there in Europe and you're reading the same things the kids over here in the United States are reading, except that you had the addition of reading the books in the Russian language, which gives you another whole perspective.
Well, internet is a wonderful thing. You can get a lot of books in different languages from everywhere, so that is not a problem. But when I was a child growing up, my parents moved around the world. That's how I ended up in Europe, basically. My mom is in North Carolina, in Charlotte.
Nice.
Yes. And I'm here, so my family is scattered around the globe, actually, because of their work, and now everybody has their own home and their own family, children and everything, so my siblings are everywhere. And what I wanted to say is that speaking many languages certainly makes it easier to network with the whole world about the subject that you love. And I love science fiction, so I get to talk to the Japanese science fiction fans because I love Japanese science fiction. I run my own blog, which is called Camilla Stein Review, and I do film reviews and interviews with professionals in the film industry. Basically, independent filmmakers from Los Angeles, from New York, but I get to talk to some Hollywood actresses and other professionals in the movie industry, and some are really into sci-fi, and that opens up a very broad perspective for me as a person who loves science fiction, because I get to see not only how the science fiction is written, but also how it's transferred on screen and how it's played, And
that's awesome.
Yes, it's an awesome experience, because I was talking to Tracy Dinwiddle. She is a science fiction actress, and she told me some things, and you can go to my website, you can Google Camilla Stein Review, and you can get to see my website where her interview is. She told me things about science fiction, what she did and why she did, and it was like talking to my own sister, because science fiction really unites people. That's why sci-fi conventions go so well all the time, and that's your networking, that's your social media helps, but it's also your, I think we are becoming more globalized as far as science fiction is concerned, because it's just such a unifying subject. And many languages certainly helps, and Russian and Japanese and German. German sci-fi is great too, I can tell you, everything sci-fi is cool, no matter what country.
That's awesome. And there are very few people, I know there are other people that are multilingual, but I think you sound like someone who has immersed yourself so much into it that I highly doubt there's anyone else that has probably done as much in as many different languages as you have.
Thank you.
And that's really exciting that it's something that you have that makes you sets you apart from other sci-fi writers, and it gives you a way more global experience. And when you go to, I'm sure when your novel is finished, you have a base of people all over the world that will want to write it.
In fact, I incorporate international outreach and scope of my experience and my own knowledge into my books. Space Scrapers is very international in this regard. I have 3 main characters which are from different countries. and I have characters which are from different worlds, which is, sci-fi thing. But speaking about Earth, I specifically wanted to celebrate humanity. This is something that you see on social media because we come from all different countries, and it's not just USA. It's everything. Every continent is represented on Facebook, on Twitter, on book clubs like Goodreads and library thing, and you get to see and hear what people read, what they love, how they live, and we interact, we exchange thoughts, we exchange opinions, and we are so much alike. And I really love to celebrate that in my writing, and so that's what I have in Space Scrapers and Gaia's Children. But I also hope that my new novel, which is halfway done, will be a celebration of humanity as we are as well. So that's the hope.
That is a wonderful. That's a wonderful basis for a book. Everyone who writes, whether it's sci-fi or whether it's memoir or whether it's fantasy or romance, you all hope to make a difference in your reader when they get to the end of the book.
That's the idea. That's why we do this. Writing is really hard to do, and all writers can concur on that because, we spend a lot of time crafting stories, crafting characters, developing good plots, entertaining, and at the same time something that is really not 50 Shades of Grey, because we want to give quality to people. We want people to really be immersed in the book, in the story, to live in that story, to have a great day with that book, and maybe a little bit of escapism, but in a way that life is hard, and you want your reader to just have a totally different experience and forget about their own things, whatever is bothering them, and just go through a wonderful. It's like going to an opera or a theater, and just having a good time and living a new life. And then you come back to your own problems refreshed, and you can handle everything. That's kind of a help that we would like to offer to readers, and that's what we want to produce. Like all writers who want to really produce great stuff, we want to do the quality work so that our readers can come back to us and say, well, we've enjoyed your book and we want more. Yeah. So that's the whole idea.
Yep. You're introducing them into a world where, everything isn't perfect, but where they can have experiences that they wouldn't have on their own,
Yes.
You go in a spaceship and you travel to wherever, or you teleport.
Yes, you can see the universe.
Yeah, and you can go places that you in your own mind didn't think of going, but you can go there because an author brought you there.
Yes.
So, and that's essentially, like you said, that's what authors want. And it's what readers want. They want you to tell them a great story so that they can get lost from the everyday world and see their world with a new perspective.
I think so too, and I really appreciate that, and that's why I talk to readers a lot. I talk to readers on Facebook. I have my platform there, and my publisher's platform also there, and we talk on Twitter, talk on book clubs, just because we want to interact and we want to know what readers are thinking. And I am a reader too, because I read science fiction, I read other literature, I read non-fiction. I appreciate very well-written book. I can see that the author really did their best, and I really enjoy reading a well-written book where I can see that the writer invested and it's not just a piece of trash that you can throw away and forget about it. But no, I really appreciate hard-working writers, and as a reader, I bow to them. I'm really thankful that they exist. Yep,
and we're. It's a symbiotic relationship. We have to be able to have things to read, and then we need to have writers that write the things to read. But then you have to have readers to read the stuff to read. So without each other, you can't
it's a circle, and we can't survive without one another. That's very true. That's very true.
So that goes to your balance, back to your balance in the earth. That's like one of the very first relationships that that were made way back in the Middle Ages when storytellers were around.
I think so too. Yes, back to Shakespeare, and I can tell you that this is also a very rewarding experience, because you get to. It's not about the money. It's not about because we don't really sell so well that we can retire and stop working on other things that we work on. So very few writers write as their day job,
right.
But mostly this is something we do after work, and we are the kind of brand of people that we really want to get our story out there, and then we want people to enjoy it, and that's why we do it. It's a form of entertainment, I suppose, and I'd say that It's a circle of life, if you wish, because it's a circle of life in the world of words.
Yep, absolutely. Now, when you talk about using social media, and one of the things that I've been very curious about is how people. I can pretty much see how how authors are using Twitter and Facebook. But how you mentioned that you're on Goodreads. How are you using Goodreads?
Goodreads offers a very nice service to writers. It's free, and you can establish yourself. You can have a writer's profile there, and you can add your own books that you wrote. But basically, what you do is interact with other readers and other writers, and you support each other by reading books and writing reviews about these books. There are also groups where you can discuss certain types of literature. Like, for instance, there's a Russian literature group that I follow because I work for the publisher who brings Russian literature into the English language book world. So they do translations, and so I follow the subject. And I get to read people's opinions about the books they read and the books they want to read. I get to express myself as well. But basically what I do is write reviews. This is what I have time for most of the time. And this is what I love doing, because once you had a great book, a good book in your hands, and you really want the people to know about it, so that's why we have a review option, and you can give as many stars as you want to the book. I'm lying. 5 stars is the maximum.
Right.
I would give 20 stars or 100 stars to a very good book that keeps me coming back to this book over and over again. I reread certain books at certain intervals just because they're so good. So that deserves so many stars. But Goodreads has 5 stars, like Amazon. Oh, by the way, Amazon has also readers discussion clubs and also authors discussion clubs where independent authors can promote themselves. Only one place where we can promote ourselves as independent authors. So that's pretty similar. There's also something called Kindle boards where they use where there's a book bazaar, which is like a book club where you can introduce your own books and you can discuss other books of others. And it's pretty much the same principle that is applied everywhere, where you have to read the book first, and then if you're an author or a publisher, you introduce your product. But to interact with others, you have to read their books. You have to post reviews. You need to know what you're talking about, because you can't really just jump in and say, "Hi, I've never read any of your books, but I'm here," and so that's very shallow. You want to give quality interaction to others, just because the law of attraction is also in place. So Goodreads is great in a way that you can see more, I think, because you can upload their covers of your books, pictures of yourself, I think, to your profile, at least one. So you get to, it's more personalized, probably like Facebook, which is also personalized. And Twitter is, Twitter has an option of adding pictures to your updates, to your tweets, but it's a little bit different. All you see is, 140 characters of encoded messages with links. But Twitter is great in a way that it spreads the buzz around very quickly.
Right.
And my Twitter platform is larger than my Facebook platform. So that's just to compare how things work. Other people prefer Google Plus, which is also a social network. And what I can tell you that people who read books, they find each other on every social network. And it's not necessarily Goodreads or library thing, which is very specialized, dedicated like a library just to reading books and writing reviews and talking about books. But we find each other everywhere, wherever we go, every network. There will always be someplace on Facebook, someplace on Google Plus, someplace on any other network where readers and writers will unite and talk about, literature. So it's just how it is. It's just the fun of it,
Yeah, and it was a really good explanation of all the different options that are out there right now. And we all know that things are going to change, and, there'll be more social networks or less social networks, or, Twitter may fall by the wayside or whatever. But the point is that you made is that no matter what pops up globally, people can connect. And,
exactly.
When I'm talking to somebody on Facebook, I don't know, unless I look at their profile, I don't know what part of the world they're from. And I don't know, if English is their first or third language. And, you're having conversations with people every day, and they're reading you, and, you're reading them. And then when you find something interesting, you connect and you comment. And the next thing you know, you're talking about books.
And then you're becoming friends, internet friends.
Yeah.
And this is wonderful because there are no barriers. Something that we encounter physically in life when we meet each other, suppose somewhere, and we have to overcome the physical kind of, the visual, the language, maybe audio, some obstacles, whatever. But
right.
Internet just kind of takes everything away, and all you have is the pure message, the essence of who everybody is, and that's wonderful because we get to see the real. When people are honest, you get to see the real them, But
right.
I have to say that internet also offers a lot of scammers can have a field day on internet, so we all need to be very careful because whatever gets on internet is never removed.
Yeah, I know.
So that's one of the things that we need to be cautious about. But talking about literature on book clubs is pretty safe. And it's also wonderful because this is there are people who cannot move physically a lot, so they cannot really attend book clubs in the area. All they need to do, suppose people with disabilities or chronic illnesses, but they're readers and they love literature, and they're writers and they love writing. And internet offers them a wonderful opportunity to not only create and distribute their work, but also interact with others about their work and the work of others. So they get to live. I have health challenges, and I sometimes think if I did not have internet, I would not be able to do a lot of things. I would not be a member of many clubs and reading groups and writing circles. But internet gives me all that, and I'm really, really thankful for this wonderful tool.
Well, and the other thing, too, to build upon that is that it's also made it very much easier. It's removed the barriers of getting books to each other. So, if I were going to mail you a print book so you could do a review, it would cost a lot of money.
Sure. Now you can send an electronic version, like a PDF, or even a customized version for your own electronic reading platform, whatever you're using, a Nook, a Kindle, Eldico, whatever you have.
Yep.
It's great. I mean, it's also changed the way things are in the publishing industry, because there is also a print on demand option, and there's also electronic books, which is click upload and it's done.
Yep.
It's fantastic. There are rules, there are screening policies and everything on every electronic book distributor or publisher, but Amazon, CreateSpace. Okay, wait, CreateSpace is for the printed media.
Print on demand, yeah.
Yes, but Amazon has a Kindle Author program. I think Lulu does that too. Let me think. Smashwords is a distributor, but they also offer publishing services for electronic books, which this is not really like a traditional publishing because you don't get electronic book is electronic book. Actually, a book is a medium. It can be printed, it can be written by hand, it can be and then bound into a nice shape. And then you have electronic medium, which is the content is the essence here. And then so you can deliver your content in various ways. And electronic is the greatest, the greenest, I would say.
Yeah.
Because save the trees.
No
I was
trees.
interviewed when I went on Kindle. I was interviewed by Kindle author blogger, and he said, "Why publish on Kindle?" And my answer was, save the trees. This is the best option because rainforest is disappearing. So we need to think about the earth. So going green and going on Kindle and going on all electronic platforms is the wise thing to do. And traditional publishers and libraries that acquire books from traditional publishers also now seek content for their electronic collection. In the first half of the 2012, libraries have spent 60% of their budget. That's libraries in the USA, and that's my personal research. I've done research and I've talked to libraries at conventions and. Okay, so 60% of their annual budget was spent in the fiscal year, in the first part of the fiscal year 2012, was spent on acquiring electronic platforms for the library lending purposes, and now they're seeking content which they can afford. Yeah. And certainly large publishing houses like Random House or Penguin Books, they want to sell electronic books at a very high price, which is many libraries say, hey, come on, we are your allies here, give us a fair price. Yeah. And I have to say that my publisher, Glagoslav Publications, and this is an advertising, but I have to say that we offer a very fair price to every library that comes to us. So if you know a librarian who wants great literature, high quality literature for the electronic platform, please call me. I'll give you great electronic books. We have Mobi, we have PDF, we have what else? Nook. We have something for Nook. I forgot what the extension is. Mobi is EPUB. Yes, that's right. EPUB. Okay, that's morning for me. So before coffee. Yeah. Okay, so this is what's been done, and I have to say that. Electronic medium is a very cool medium. I have a tablet where I have Kindle and Nook and Aldico, and I carry about 500 books in total. Yep. In my bag. Can you imagine that? When you go to a book convention, a book expo, and you need to acquire 500 books, and you're a librarian, and you have a cart with you, and that's where you carry all the books you want for your library, and it's really, really heavy. And can you imagine going on a vacation with so many books? Yeah. No, of course not. You take one or two in your bag, and you're gone. But now I have around 500, and I'm constantly downloading and acquiring whatever I want. From the internet, and that is amazing. Yep. And then I get to talk to my readers and to readers of books I read, and I get to talk to them through a mobile device as well, which is great because it's great on one hand. On the other hand, I had a very bizarre experience I'll tell you about. A month ago, I needed to do some work in the city, and I went to a government building, and I was waiting in the queue with my number, and I was like, everything was fine, and for a moment I thought something seems something is odd, And then I looked around and everybody was texting or emailing or using their iPhones, iPads, Galaxies, whatever they have. Everybody has a mobile device, and they were not talking to each other, but they were talking to whoever is on the other side of their mobile, whoever is the receiving part. I was shocked. I felt like that is the downside of internet and all this electronic globalization. However, it's a great medium, but unfortunately we don't know where to draw the line, and I think we need to learn to do that really fast, like ASAP.
Yeah. No, and I agree, because like you said, how many people did you meet in line while you were waiting for something, and you had a really cool conversation, and then, you may never see that person again, but you had a great conversation, for 20 minutes while you were waiting in line at the movies, or while you were waiting in line to get into the building, or whatever.
I love this kind of an interaction. I love random encounters, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I would love to do that, but that was just one of the most recent experiences where I saw that people do not talk to each other, and that was really sad, because I think that we ought to talk to each other, and we ought to put down our mobile devices and take time to actually interact with people who are right now here with us in the physical world, present in and we need to do that too.
Yeah.
We need to have a healthy balance. We don't need to be hooked on the wire. Hooked on the wire, this is something from Space Scrapers. This is my book. I have a wire installation there for every human. It's like a tracking device that's set into your brain. Oh my God, read my book if you want to find out more. But that is one of the things that I have inserted in the book that puts a perspective onto what we're doing right now. We are all on a wire.
Hooked into the wire, yep. And to go back to the library thing, I appreciate what libraries are doing. My daughter reads, she borrows books from the library constantly, because this is what libraries exist for. If you want to read a book just once and give it back, you don't want to keep that file on your, if you do want to, then you go somewhere and buy it. And that's what libraries are for. Borrow it, and she's on waiting lists, because they only have so many licenses to have so many books out at a time.
There are too many books to read and too little time to do that. And libraries really, really do a great job in cataloging everything by subject, by country, by, I don't know if it's history, it's by historical periods, whatever. And libraries really do a great job by promoting new literature and classic literature, and to schools, to educational facilities, and schools really need to get more quality literature into their curriculums, because things are disappearing. I have to tell you that we did some research for my publishing house, and we found out that Russian literature is disappearing from American schools' curriculums. And
that's not right.
That is not really a good thing to do. Okay, because there are still so many great translated works of Russian writers that are classic works, but there are also works of modern Russian writers which were written after the Iron Curtain, and you can really appreciate the scope of the cultural diversity and the understanding of things and learning from each other. That's why we are here, folks. That's why we're alive. And libraries are okay. Do you know that there are also electronic libraries out there? And there are independent electronic libraries where you can either free libraries or paid-for libraries where you can lend books electronically. And something like this has been also done by Amazon, which is, I think they have like library readers where you can lend books on Kindle and then give them back. Not sure how that works, but that's one of the things I think younger readers know how to do all those wonderful options out there with all those wonderful devices. I mean, have you seen Kindle? It's weightless.
Yep. I was flabbergasted when I got my first Kindle by the weight and the size, and I thought it was going to be awkward to hold, but it's the size of a 6x9 book. You know,
and it's as thick as a pencil. I think it's really. It fits everywhere. It's amazing.
Yep.
And with all that wonderful technology, we can only think of the wonderful things we can produce and do for each other. You know, I'm still stressing this point that we really need to be very embracing and very open to the idea of being a family.
Yep. Being a family, a global family. You know, we're all, what is it? They call it 6 degrees of separation from anybody to anybody else in the world. So
yes, that is also another wonderful thing that totally blows my mind, because I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who's a queen. And
there you go. Yep, there you go.
There's many ways, yes.
So, well, Camilla, it's been wonderful talking to you this morning before your coffee and after mine. And I would like for you to let us know. Tell me your website again.
My website. I have too many websites, so the best thing for people to do is go to Google and Google Camilla Stein, science fiction writer, and you will get a lot of things. I have too many websites.
Okay, well, and that's good, because like you said, it's part of the internet and you're reaching different people, and I would assume that you have some platforms in different languages, so...
I don't, only in English.
Oh well.
Sorry, my bad. But no,
that's fine, because English.
I'm only published in America.
Okay.
So and my so that's how it is. Well, whenever you're published on the internet, it's actually, even if it's in America, you are published worldwide.
Yes. Well, and CreateSpace also added an option recently where now with their print on demand, they can deliver to countries other than the United States. So they just recently added that in the last few weeks.
Okay, that's an awesome thing to do. I think that because they're really embracing humanity.
Yeah,
great.
Yep. So everybody who thinks Amazon is the big evil, they're actually trying to get, whether it's to make a buck or not, they're actually trying to get literature worldwide. And I think that is a tremendous step forward, because there aren't very many places that can print and ship overseas, and there are a lot of barriers to that.
Yes, I agree totally. Yes, and this is a good thing they're doing this. Yes.
So, all right. So search for Camilla Stein on Google, or go to CamillaSteinReviews.com. Right?
It's on WordPress. It's
okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm. You can find me. I'm easily traceable, and you can find me on Twitter, and you can find me on Facebook, and I'll be glad to embrace everyone who comes to me.
Okay. Awesome. And for those of you who are listening, and you're listening somewhere on the internet other than our website, please go to BookGoodies.com, where you can find the podcast, and you can see some of I'll put up some links to some of Camilla's sites, and you can also let us comment on the podcast, let us know what you think, and if there's something that you want us to cover in a future podcast, you can leave a message. Or you can go to our contact form and let us know what you'd like to hear our authors talk about, or you can offer to be on our podcast yourself. And again, Camilla, I want to thank you so much. I know you had to get up extra early for this, and it's been a very...
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, Deborah. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you. And for all of our listeners that are out there, have a great day. Get creative, get writing, be green, and have a great day.
Yes, be green. That's the motto for today. Yes, and have a great day, everybody. I enjoyed doing this. I enjoyed talking to everyone. And thank you, Deborah. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Okay.